Yo, what's up? So today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, and that topic is going to be, is prospecting dying? Or is it already dead? That is my question to you guys. Let me know in the comments what you think. Definitely subscribe. Definitely leave a like. It's much appreciated and it's completely free. Now, yeah, I asked this question because I have kind of been seeing it a lot. A lot more people have been starting to say that this game is starting to die off. And, well, I mean, there's some people saying it's already dead, which I don't think you can really argue that it's dead. I think you can argue that it's dying, but it's not like completely dead, because on the prospecting page, if you scroll down, there is like pretty much there's like 10,000 people on right now, which isn't like amazing, but it's also not bad. You know what I mean? And also there is an update coming out on Saturday, so hopefully that can revive it a little bit. Although we did just get a big update, the cavern expansion, so this update potentially could be a small one. I don't know. That's usually how they do it. They usually do a big update, then a small update, then a big one, then a small one. So this potentially could be a quality of life like changes. Now, I did make a poll, which I'm going to show you. And I literally just said, is prospecting dying? Which, by the way, you can still vote on this poll on my community tab on my YouTube channel. And yeah, the results are pretty crazy. So basically, 87% of people, well, of the 2,000 that voted, had said yes, and 13% said no. Now, I do a lot of these polls every now and again, and they're never usually that one-sided. Like, that is nuts. That's basically 90% to 10%. Like, that is insane. So a lot of people are in agreement that it's kind of dying, which is pretty sad. Now, there are some comments I'm going to be reading out. Now, this comment in particular actually got 26 likes. So they said, I'm playing Lumber Inc. now, which I've not even heard of that game. I might check it out. Prospecting died because of an insane probability of getting some of the exotics. Is unreal, but it was fun while it lasted. Yeah, some of the exotics were a bit of a pain to get. I mean, if you're like super end game, it wasn't too much of an issue, but I know like kind of middle game players, like they really were struggling. I know I saw a lot of comments of people complaining about that. To be honest, I felt like this update was kind of lazy with the quests. So he's talking about the cavern expansion. Getting the scissors to cut the vines got old fast, and they expected you to do that like 6 times. They really couldn't have come up with something else, which, yeah, is a good point. I suppose it was pretty repetitive. Maybe they could have came up with something else, you know, like maybe the first door, yeah, we could have used the scissors to cut through the vines, but then maybe like the second, we could have done something else, like maybe use like a flamethrower or something. I don't know. Obviously, that's a bit extreme, but I'm sure there could have been different ways to cut through stuff and whatever. There needs to be a new depth quest, a new area with all the new ores, and probably a new rarity past exotic. I think the geodes were a glimpse of the updates that we need to. Just outside the box content. Yeah, the geodes was a it was kind of an unexpected update that was pretty, like, it was unique, wasn't it? It was pretty good. Although I don't really use the geodes. I kind of like, the first day they came out, I kind of was hunting for them, but I kind of stopped looking for them, to be honest. So this guy says, I think because of the museum. It's so... Now, he says imba, which I believe is short for imbalanced. But I could be wrong, but I think it means imbalanced. And then he says, in my opinion, by the way. So yeah, basically saying that because the museum's imbalanced, that could be the reason why it's dying. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people liked the museum. It added a lot more like gameplay to the game. So I'm not quite sure with that. I don't know. This guy says, well, the game is now a couple thousand less than before, so it's not dying yet. But the update and the economy of the game are dying more. This game is not balanced, and now there is nothing to do because people are ready for 5 updates forward. Because everyone has inhumanly, is that the word he's meant to put there? Good equipment and museums. Or inhumanely, I think he meant to put. The thing is, like, it's kind of hard to comment on this one in particular because he kind of says that obviously like people are rich or whatever, but that's actually not the case for majority of the people. Like, I know a lot of people, they were actually complaining that the prices were too high for the pan and shovel. So it's kind of a weird thing where it's like, you know, some people are just stupidly rich, kind of like me, I guess, where I've got 3.7 trillion. Like, obviously I've got so much money in this game, I doubt I'll ever be able to spend that. Actually, I don't think it's even possible for me to spend all my money. Well, unless I just bought like 1 million of the potions, I suppose. I know a lot of people were complaining how like the pan and shovel were like 100 billion each, because obviously it's like really expensive. And also, actually, I remember a lot of people commenting how they didn't like... So for the new blueprint, you know, there's a quest with that droid where you need to get the new exotic to actually get the blueprint to be able to see it in the thing. Or in the crafting menu. I think it's called the Antlers of Life. Yeah, it's this one. So in order to complete that quest, you actually needed to get the new exotic, which I know a lot of people didn't like. I remember seeing tons of comments about that. Now, I've got quite a few comments, so I'm just going to quickly go through the rest of these. Yeah, the probably of things is what kept me, or no, sorry, yeah, the probability, I believe he's meant to say, of things is what kept me from playing as much. It's not the probability that the exotic things are harder to get. I get that. It's that for some quests, it wanted me to find certain legendaries, and it took forever. Yet I was constantly digging up other legendaries. I feel the pull rates should be similar for those. So yeah, I mean, it is kind of weird how like some items are harder to get than others, even though they've got the same rarity. Kind of like when the game first came out, and like the Prismara, for example. Like, I don't know why the Prismara was so much harder to get in comparison to like the other mythics. Wait, it is a mythic, right? Or is it? Yeah, a Prismara is a mythic, right? Or is it an exotic? I can't even remember these days. Oh, it is a mythic, yeah. Like, I remember, like, the Prismara, for some reason, back in the day, was, like, really difficult to get, but then the other mythics weren't as hard to get. I'm not entirely sure why that was. For me, as an endgame player, it's just a money grind now, and there's really nothing for me to do or spend. $350 billion. They need to add more shops with a bunch of different pans and shovels in them. They need to drop an update on a bunch of new ores, and I mean a bunch. Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of want that. Unfortunately, stopped playing around when the Void came out. Stopped playing Roblox in general. So yeah, that's kind of like the majority of the comments on that post. Now, I do have like a list of things that I just want to quickly mention before I end this video off. So basically, like, you know, with prospecting, I mean, I think we all kind of know that this game will die out eventually. I mean, no Roblox game truly lives forever, you know what I mean? Well, unless you're thinking of like B-Swarm, but I guess that's like very rare cases. I think realistically, what's kind of happening is just, you know, this game isn't really new anymore. And I suppose majority of the player base is kind of getting a bit bored of the game, which I suppose is not really the devs' fault 100%. You know, that's just how it works with Roblox games. They you know, they live and then they die, basically. Like, people just get bored pretty much, and they want to move on to new stuff, you know what I mean? But I think there are a few things the devs could probably do a little bit better. Like, you know, the admin abuses. Who remembers those? You know, the admin abuses like midweek. Like, they were so good. And then for some reason, they just completely stopped. So I think we were getting like 2 a week, like 2 midweek. And then obviously we were always getting one on Saturday when the game updated. For some reason, the admin abuses just stopped. I'm not entirely sure why. And I'm not even saying that that's necessarily anything to do with the game dying, but I'm just feeling, you know, I feel like the admin abuses, they did help a little bit. Because obviously that midweek boost of like players, like twice a week or whatever, I feel like it did help the game a little bit. And it was, you know, it was just a fun thing to do midweek while we're waiting for the update. But yeah, they like completely stopped doing the admin abuses. I don't even know why. They didn't, I don't think they even gave a reason. So hopefully they can bring back the admin abuses. That would be pretty sick. Even if it's just once a week, like maybe on Wednesdays or something. Also, I feel like there's not really much communication with prospecting, I've got to be honest. Like, they don't really seem to say much, the devs. I mean, I can't even blame prospecting really, because this is kind of like a thing with a lot of Roblox developers. I don't know what happens. Like, they make these great games and they like do the updates every week, but then they just don't really say much or talk. You know, every now and again you play a game and there's like really good communication, that like the owners are talking every day and they're like sharing stuff with the community and interacting. And then sometimes you play games and then there's just like basically nothing. I don't know, it's pretty weird. You know, just a bit of extra communication, I think, goes a long way, really, just so the player base can be more informed with what's going on with the game and stuff. Also, my final point that I kind of want to mention, well, actually, I've kind of got 2 written down here, but basically, like, you know, so with games, you know how there's like usually leaks and stuff, and leaks, they like create hype. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they do sometimes do a sneak peek on their Discord, which is pretty cool, but maybe some like extra leaks and stuff, because I feel like leaks are always such a crucial part for a game, because it gives like the YouTubers and stuff who obviously like record the game and like promote it or whatever, it gives them like extra material to make extra videos. And basically with leaks, it just creates hype. So when the next update comes out, everybody's kind of informed about it, right? So then they kind of know like, oh, there's going to be this big update coming on this game at this time, right? And they sort of know what to expect kind of, so they remember. But basically, my point is leaks is always a kind of a good thing because, yeah, it creates hype, gets everybody excited for the update, which I believe in the long run will give the game more players. I mean, that's my opinion anyway. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I wanted to mention. I mean, I could probably go on all day just mentioning random stuff, but I don't really want this video to be like super long. I suppose the only point, or the only other point I could probably mention is the fact that, obviously, you know, when this game was up and coming, like it kind of, like this game basically came out of nowhere. I don't know if it was just me, like maybe some people knew about it before or whatever, but for me personally, this game wasn't even on my radar. I had no like involvement or anything, or I didn't know anything about the game beforehand. So for me to hop on this game, it was like completely random, because if you didn't know, basically there was a game called Dig, which I'm pretty sure like most of the player base on this game came from Dig. And I don't know if this is crazy to say, but I feel like the boost of this game, because obviously Dig was so popular, right? Like it was super popular. It had like all the attention because the thing is, Dig, it had the main developer who created the original Fish, obviously before Doobie got involved on that whole Fish drama. And because that game was so popular, Dig, it had its like initial spike, which went like really, really popular. But then the thing is Dig wasn't actually as great. I mean, it was a decent game, but it was like too complex. And it just wasn't as good as maybe people expected. But then that's kind of when Prospecting kind of got released. So like all the player base from Dig, they kind of went over to this game, because let's be honest, this game is better than Dig. Like the mechanics is more fun. It's much more simple. It's much more chill. You know, I feel like with Dig, I feel like you've got to have like, you know, you've got to like study for that game to play it, but then Prospecting, you can just hop on and just play, you know what I mean? Because Dig is just so much more complicated and this game is much more chill. So basically, my point of me bringing all this up is pretty much I feel like one of the biggest reasons for Prospecting success was because of basically because of Dig's sort of downfall, if that makes sense. I was kind of thinking about it the other day and it just kind of makes sense to me. I mean, maybe people will completely disagree with what I'm saying, but it's just, you know, as Dig was rising and people got bored of that very fast, that's when I feel like Prospecting just came out at the exact time of when people were getting like super bored of Dig. And I feel like everybody who just like loved that game, you know, loved Dig, they just moved over to Prospecting basically. Because Prospecting, I mean, even now, like Prospecting's play count is technically low to what it's kind of been before. But like right now it's at like 10K, which is still pretty decent. But I mean, Dig, for example, bro, that went down to, that's at like 300. Like Dig is completely dead. That's what I'm saying. Like this game isn't dead, right? I guess it could be counted as dying, but it's definitely not as dead as Dig is, because that game is like completely 6 foot under. It definitely dug its own grave for sure. But yeah. Appreciate you for watching. I know I feel like I kind of just rambled on there at the end, but hopefully someone gets my point. And if you disagree, do let me know in the comments, because I'm sure there probably will be somebody. And don't get me wrong, I don't think like Prospecting is a good game. Like I feel like it would have succeeded without Dig, but I feel like Dig did give it that boost. Do you know what I mean? Just really, really good timing from Prospecting side. But yeah, appreciate you. Have a really good day. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.